AM radio. Tom Martin's on every morning from 10 to 1. And then Randy Rhodes afterwards.
Yeah, and at 5 o'clock on KSFR, we cover a lot of progressive issues.
Stand up for yourself.
I've been collecting letters to the editors because here in Santa Fe, people are wonderful writers, and they write great progressive letters.
Yes.
So I got files of them, and I've even called some of the people up. And I was thinking, I don't have a real big house, but I have a good backyard. And I thought of having a potluck and introducing these people to each other. Right?
Yes. Yes. Very good. Exactly right. Yeah, please do that. That's a great idea. And you know, I read the New York Times every day, and the most useful thing in the New York Times is the letter to the editor section. I mean, you're very thoughtful people, and you're right. They've never met each other. So, that's good. I like that.
Good idea.
Yeah.
You were talking about charity with the illustration, giving back is 15 cents in hotel. The New York Times recently reported that people who have lots of money are less generous than people who don't have a lot of money. And if the situations become reversed, then that becomes reversed too.
Yes.
But it's amazing the amount of empathy that you can have when you don't have a lot of money for your fellow man.
Yes, saying that in the New York Times recently had an article about charity and how the greatest philanthropy comes not from rich people but from poor people and people of very modest means, and because there's an empathy factor that they have that the richer you are, the less you have, and I see it in the I presume you have it here. We do in Austin of folks on the street, homeless people on the street, collecting money at intersections, and more often than not, it's the you know, the 10 to 15-year-old cars that are stopping and roll down the window, putting some change out there. You know, so that's true. But there's something called I can't think of this guy's name now. He's a philosopher, pretty well known American philosopher, who developed this thing that he did with students and research and tests, and it was he would get people together and say, design your perfect world, and this group over here will go over there, and y'all go over here, and everybody will break up and design your perfect world. And the only caveat is you don't know who you will be in that perfect world. And invariably, they came up with the most progressive social program you can imagine. Interesting. Anybody in the back? Galleys? Okay, you.
I mean, the thought just kind of occurred to me now. I don't know if KSFR has a blog site or a central site, maybe working in conjunction with the New Mexican, the Reporter, Greenfire. I know that was funny. But just as an idea, perhaps trying to link up the progressives from that are willing to speak their minds in whatever medium. On some sort of a blog that everybody could share. Coordinate.
Yeah.
Well, you know, with this Tea Party, and it appears that they're being able to swing quite a bit of this. Do you think it's too late for the upcoming election to try to stop that, that thing?
Well, he's saying the Tea Party, they're swinging quite a bit of elections right now. Is it too late for the general election to try to prevent that? Well, actually, that's working enormously in our favor right now. Because Democrats, the one thing they have going are the Republicans, which are becoming these Tea Party nutballs. So, what's her name in Nevada? Harry Reid was a dead duck. He was given up for dead, and now he's actually, I think, a point ahead. Isn't that what you say, Jim? A point ahead now in Utah because of this lunatic state senator who won the primary there and is wants to kill Social Security and thinks that we have spoiled our society by allowing unemployment benefits and that people expect unemployment benefits on and on. And so I mean, there's such a, we do not have to worry about the Tea Party. We do need to worry about the Blue Dog Democrats and about the pusillanimous Democrats who will not stand up. That's something we can affect. The Tea Party is a tiny minority. Let's say that Beck and crew get there. I think they were saying they were going to have 300,000 people. That is 1/10 of 1% of the American people, actually less than that would show up there. And they don't even know what they're rallying for. They're totally disparate and want different things. And I'll just give you this. This is while I was sitting in a restaurant a while ago from today's New York Times. It's about a Louisiana U.S. Senate race. David Vitter, there's a sitting U.S. Senator, Republican. He might, if you heard of him at all, is because in 2007 his name appeared on the client list of a Washington prostitution ring, and so that has caused him some dismay back in the home district. And so he got a primary challenge, challenge in the Republican primary by a Supreme Court judge, a district judge over there. And that was looking fine for a while, except this turns out that then a state representative said, well, this district judge had been a significant factor in his divorce. And it turns out the district judge did eventually marry the representative's former wife, who died last year. And then the district judge had to acknowledge that he is now involved with someone else. And that would be the estranged wife of the state representative's son. His stepson. You can't make this shit up. New York Times, today. Spread the word.
I wanted to make a recommendation to the gentleman who asked about an online place where progressives gather, and that would be the Daily Cause. I recommend that highly.
Good point. There's all sorts of great websites and blogs that connect people up. Daily Cause is one of those. Truth Out, Common Dreams, I don't know, blah, 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 on down the line. The Huffington Post, well, that's information more than connection. But there's a bunch of it. And Move On is connected with Common Cause to do a thing on the Supreme Court decision, and that's got very, very good legs right now. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So there's plenty to connect up with, but you got to find it, and then once you find it, spread the word to your list of people so others can do it. Well, I think we've one.
I wanted to comment on our age. A few of us are under 30 here. And in California, I've heard lately that the thing that's going to potentially get some of the younger folk out that supported Obama in the upcoming election was pot. And that's voting. I'd like your views on that.
Yeah, the gentleman's pointing out that a few people here tonight, except for me, are under 30. and that he understands that one thing that seems to be working in California and possibly getting young folks involved, particularly Obama people who really created his campaign, would be the marijuana election, legalization of marijuana in California. Yeah, I mean, take what you can get, it seems to me. And that's, to me, a very legitimate thing. Certainly medical marijuana, but I think, Colorado's has already considered it. I don't remember where we are there, but anyway, legalization of marijuana, it's going to come. I mean, and that is an issue that will energize people. And let us be honest, those of us in the 60s who were out there in the Vietnam, protests, I spent my life trying to get Lyndon Johnson out of office. Not realizing he would be the most progressive president of my lifetime. But what we had was the draft. And we can know about all the morality we want, but we had the draft. And that is what they deliberately did this time. No draft, no taxation to pay for the war, no pain. It's just something over there, and you're not a part of it. And so don't worry your pretty little head about it. And so that's allowing that to go on. And we can't allow that to happen anymore. If our nation is at stake, if our young people are, or even not so young in this case, are fighting and dying and bleeding, then we all have to be at risk at some level. I know everybody. There are plenty of people who died. Phil Graham got 5 deferments. Dick Cheney got 5 deferments. And et cetera. And boy, Bush defended Houston. When you did no more. All that's horseshit. That's again a structural change that we can't let happen anymore. If you're going to go to war, everybody has to pay a price of some sort.
I just wanted to say I'm taking courses out of community college in film. The community college has a very good film program, including documentary films and so on. KSFR is right out there. That's where their offices are. There are a bunch of people sitting around in those classes saying, well, we don't really know what to make a film about. So maybe that would be a good place for people to come together. The radio progressives at the radio station get together with some of those film students out there to tell
Another
stories.
excellent idea, and that is that she's in a film course, community college, and they've got all these kids in these courses, and they don't know quite well. All right, not all kids who don't know what to make a film about. And so one thing is let's give them some subjects, and that's an answer to the question over here about how do you get a community involved. How do you get one neighborhood that it might be suspicious of you involved? You say, we want your oral history. We want you to tell us what your neighborhood's about and what your life's about. And all that's a way to get in with people, and a very productive thing that you would get back and then create this whole community profile. It would be famously radical. I mean, the American people are amazingly radical. Nearly everybody's history has that in it, and so bring that to light and lift it to high levels. And I think we'll get something done there. Well, I think we're going to break to go over to Cartoon Land and drink gobs of wine and etc. I'll leave you with this. There's my old Aunt Eula was a farmer up in northeast Texas, and something big happened with Eula in the early 1950s, late 40s, early 50s, and it was the New Deal. It was that the Rural Electrification Administration brought power lines into Fannin County, and what that meant to Eula was she could put a pump in the creek and move water into her house for the first time ever. And I was there one day, and I was but a boy, and a big fuss was going on because the water coming out of the faucet was all murky. And the men were standing around looking at it and putting their fingers in it and scratching their butts. I don't know, what do you think the problem here? And Eula turned to me and she said, Jim, the water won't ever clear up till we get the hogs out of the creek. That is our problem. Thank you for what you're doing to get the hogs out of the creek. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Jim Hightower, thank you all for coming. And be sure to support your local public radio station, 101.1 FM. We're going to be having our pledge drive next month. Make sure you open your checkbooks and open your heart and get involved. Now, there's more time to talk about these issues and rub shoulders with one another and get to meet each other at the Chuck Jones Gallery, which is at 135 West Palace Avenue, and it's just literally one block over there, but you gotta have to go through Burrow Alley and down and cut back up. It's at the corner of Grant and Palace Avenue, 135 on the northeast corner there. And for those of you who have signed up for the reception, we'll see you there in a few minutes. And also wanted to remind you that Jim Hightower's book, Swim Against the Current, is available right here at Collected Works. And let's have another hand for Dorothy Massey and Mary Wolf from Collected Works for the great work that they do at Santa Fe's oldest independent bookstore. Dorothy and Mary, thank you so much for opening the home to us.